Yes, the Synoid Simulor. A blast from the past for some of you Warframe veterans, and personally my favorite weapon. Today we'll be going over a build for the Synoid Simulor and how it will fit into today's meta. I hope you guys enjoy. Hello everybody, Ken here, and today we're going to be going over this confusing beast of a weapon, Synoid Simulor. So this did get nerfed way back in the day, but I do want to cover it because it's actually a really good weapon still, and I don't know why people dropped it off. I think it's because of the main gimmick was nerfed and it requires just a little bit more attention to kind of build. So first let's go into the build and I'll explain how it works, some tricks that we can use to make it be good, and kind of to help usability at the same time. I'll explain it all. But so you're gonna fire 4 orbs, and basically whenever you fire those 4 orbs, you can detonate them, and it does damage. That's the main gimmick that you have here, and it fires these little orbs instead of actual bullets. And so you can see it's doing a lot of damage here. And we also have electricity that's proccing as well. So it's kind of like melee influence. And as you know, melee influence is broken right now. So before we actually do that, we have to press our alt fire. Whenever we create those vortexes, we have to press our alt fire to detonate them. But with this build, I'm not pressing my alt fire right now. I'm just shooting. And you can see I'm doing the same damage. And so I will explain how I'm doing that and how it kind of is a usability factor as well. So let's first get into the build so I can explain a little bit more. So our unique trait is entropy, and whenever you combine 3 or more orbs, it creates a vortex and it deals damage over time. So the shots that are fired through this vortex do electricity damage, more crit chance, and more crit damage. And then the alternate fire detonates all the orbs, like I was saying. And then you also have your cephalon meter, and that's just whenever you gain affinity, you release a 25-meter magnetic explosion, and it restores energy and also increases your energy max for 30 seconds. So let's first see how this works. So with no mods on, to create your vortex, you're gonna have to shoot 4 shots. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can see now this vortex is here, and then we would alt fire and it would detonate that. And then that vortex also does damage over time. And so if you fire one of these, that's a, I think, 6-meter explosion. But if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, that's an 8-meter explosion. So it increases the explosion radius as well, which 8 meters is pretty good for explosion. That is the main gimmick of the weapon. But we can make those 4 orbs basically before we before we don't have to build them up. Basically, we don't have to build up the orbs, and we can do that with multi-shot. So I'm sorry, you do have to have a ribbon with multi-shot, and it is a bit tedious because of that. But other than that, you should be good. You don't have to have crit chance, crit damage. So let me explain how this is going to work. So we need 4 orbs, right? So here, our multi-shot is at 2.8, and that's with combining, I think it rounds up, so this is basically 100 multi-shot. And then we also have our galvanized chamber, which, stacking this all together, even the stacks that you get on the kill, is 230 multi-shot. And so 80% of this multi-shot is added. So basically we would have 1 multi-shot, and then our ribbon added, we would have 2 multi-shot, and then with our galvanized chamber added, we have 80, so that's 2.8. And then we get 150 because 30% multi-shot and stacks up to 5 times. So we would be getting 150% adding up to 4.3 multi-shot. Ideally, you would just want 4.0 so you're not wasting multi-shot, but this is the best we're going to get. And that is basically the whole gimmick. So once you build these up, you can shoot the Simulor and it will instantly combine all those orbs, those 4 orbs, and do the max damage that you want. And it will also increase that radius to 8 meters. So that's the thing I think people don't get and kind of get confused about. So you don't want to mod for more than 4 multi-shot. If you're not going to mod or do this and mod for 4 multi-shot, you can't mod for 3 multi-shot, and you should only mod for to multi-shot. It's kind of confusing, but if you get it, you'll understand how the weapon can be kind of used. So moving on, we have Rifle Elementalist because we have electricity that's going to be dealt and magnetic heat viral. And the electricity also procs because of our entropy, and it procs on that 4 orb, kind of like vortex. So that's where we're getting our electricity from. Then we have Critical Delay. This is just for more crit chance. It's kind of low on crit chance. Vital Sense for critical damage. This also plays into our status damage because crit damage does scale with status damage, or well, with statuses. Then we have our Toxin 60 mod and our Cold 60 mod to make viral and heat just on its own. Then we have Vigilante Supplies to also increase some of our crit chance, and we're running Primary Merciless. So the next thing I want to go over is how Mirage kind of breaks the Simulor, and also a kind of nerf gimmick that they added to the Simulor so that you couldn't spam it like before. And this was a part of the nerf. So we're gonna go and get some stacks here because we need multi-shot so I can show this off. And it's not like a bad nerf. Truthfully, it's really not. So once I have my multi-shot, you can fire the Simulor 4 times, and then you can see there's a little pause right there. So if I do it again, 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, and I'm just holding the button down, 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, and then I can fire again. So one of those orbs has to be detonated before you can shoot another, and there can only be 4 active ones on the field. But if I were to go to a kind of just a normal config like this that has nothing on it, if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, create an orb, 1, 2, 3, 4, create another orb, 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go, create another orb, and then if I try to create another one, I can only shoot 1 bullet. Like I'm holding it down right now. So I guess you kind of get an extra orb because you can usually only have 3. So I thought that was worth showing off. But getting into Mirage and how she works, whenever you pop your Mirage clones, right? Each of these Mirage clones counts as a multi-shot, but it's not like it gives you your 4 multi-shot that you have on the modded weapon. So if I fire, I create a orb, just like normal, right? Automatically. But if I go ahead and get my stacks here, build this up, and whenever I get all of my multi-shots as well, then if I fire, you can see there's 1 orb left, and that's my orb. That's my 4 multi-shot orb. And then it does it the same way. So you can have that damage over time and that explosion orb with Mirage, and that's why it's so good. And you can also have 15 of these little orbs up, these vortexes, just like so, because 3 times 5, because you have your 4 Mirage clones, is 15 orbs up, and then you can explode them all at once. So that's also why Mirage is such a good candidate for the weapon. But with all of that out the way, I will be hopping into a conjunction survival just to show you guys how the weapon performs and what it can do. So I will see you guys in the conjunction survival. So here we are in the conjunction survival, and I don't want to bore you guys too much with all that yapping, and I know that was a lot to kind of talk about, but I really want to make sure that you guys understand the weapon because it's a bit of a confusing weapon, and it's better if you understand the weapon in its entirety than just some bits and pieces. I would also recommend using Avenger, but of course you don't have to use Avenger. I just think it's good for the crit chance because you're not getting that much. But you can see that this weapon does perform pretty well against like big groups of enemies, especially because you're getting that electricity. But even if it's not in a big group, it will perform still pretty good. But mainly you're going to be going up against groups like this, and then it just absolutely destroys. So here's our acolytes, waiting for them to spawn in. See how this thing does against acolyte. Oh, it's violence, of course it is. So, you can see it's not too bad against the Acolyte. But, of course, not good. It's not the best, I'll say. But, does pretty good damage, you know. It's just really about the crit chance, and that's why I always think you should, not always, but at least on this weapon, you should use Avenger, just because it'll kind of help with that. And there we go. So, that's kind of how the Simulor performs. Very good weapon. Personally, I would give the Simulor a 10 out of 10. It's fun, has AoE, and also is kind of complicated to use. And I kind of like that, but it has a good ribbon disposition as well. So I also like that, but it's really just a fun weapon. I wouldn't say you should use it all the time, but hey, if we get a tenant version, I'll be reviewing that. We can only hope, right? So, with that being said, I will see you guys later. Make sure to like, subscribe. I appreciate all of you that, support me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.